The education sector in the Philippines plays a major societal and economic role in equipping individuals with the knowledge and skills to contribute to the workforce and in aiding in the advancement of technology. It also instills a sense of national identity and civic responsibility, using knowledge and critical thinking skills to not only contribute to nation building, but also participate in democratic processes. This sector is necessary for developing human capital, empowering citizens to contribute to the economy and society, driving them to further better their own living standards. Analyzing power dynamics allows us to identify the current state of education sector in terms of its resource allocation, accessibility, quality of education, and allows us to point out areas in need of reforms.
The major issue that the education sector in the Philippines faces is the inadequacy in funding and resources, leading to various problems such as low wages for teachers, limited access to quality education, and increased dropout rates. First, the effectiveness of teaching can be greatly affected due to the lack of motivation of underpaid teachers. Moreover, because of the low salary, there is difficulty in hiring qualified teachers in particular areas. Second, public schools experience poor facilities such as the lack of proper classrooms, libraries, laboratories, and sanitation, which all hinder the effective learning of students. Lastly, due to financial constraints, many Filipinos discontinue their education, which limits their job opportunities, eventually being stuck in the cycle of poverty.
According to the Second Congressional Commission on Education, or EDCOM2, there is a long-standing learning crisis in the Philippines, which is a problem not only felt firsthand by Filipino students and teachers, but also dismally evident as shown by national and international assessment results. The Commission emphasized that although there has been substantial growth in Philippine education spending since EDCOM 1, the Philippines' current level of investment still lags behind that of its neighbors in the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, such as Singapore, Vietnam, and Malaysia, all of which performed well on the Program for International Students Assessment, or PISA. The Alliance of Concerned Teachers, or ACT, argued that since the public spending on education was still below 6% of the gross domestic product, or GDP, there remains to be a misprioritization of the national budget, which then affects both public school students and teachers.
Power Analysis Matrix. Visible power is a power that we can recognize and is exercised through policies, curriculum, and funding, which is controlled by administrators, principals, and educators. Resisting this power calls for establishing student councils, parent-teacher associations, and open forums to shift toward participatory decision-making that actively involves students, fostering student organizations and democratic study practices, empower students to take responsibility and an active role in their education. Constructing transformative power calls for strengthening of student councils with actual choice-making authority, establishing participatory systems, and influential parent-teacher associations that would ensure support to students and their education. Hidden power in education is seen through its limited access and lack of resources by taking lifelong opportunities from students. These administrators, government officials, and other concerned individuals operate without direct input from their primary audience, the students, thus having the power to control who gets access to education, which is often exclusive of various marginalized sectors. To resist this issue, we can start by creating student-led organizations that promote educational support, such as free tutoring, educational workshops, and study groups that provide accessible learning resources that would be a call to the administration in response to the gaps in the system. Protesting against tuition increase and high tuition cost would push for a systemic change, calling out the administration and the government for their failure to provide the quality and accessible education to the masses.
To build transformative power for free, accessible education, and financial aid, we must educate the public about the importance of education through campaigns. Collaboration between schools, the government, and the community must also exhibit transparency. Additionally, focusing on quality education requires training teachers, updating the curriculum, and improving school facilities to ensure a more equitable and accessible education for the students. In the educational field, there is a kind of power that is not always easy to see. This invisible power occurs when people in charge, such as school leaders or the government officials, make important decisions about education without properly listening to students. Due to this, some students cannot obtain the same opportunity as others. For example, high tuition costs tend to stop many students from going to college. To counteract this problem, students can work together by forming groups to help each other learn, such as study groups or tutoring programs. They can also protest and ask for cheaper or free education. But to make a lasting change, more needs to be done. And first, we must understand why education is so important. People must be taught that education benefits everyone and not just the students. Second, the financial aid programs need to work better. They should help the students need it most, so money does not become a barrier to learning. Third, schools, governments, and communities need to work together so that they can share ideas and resources to make education better for everyone. Fourth, a need to focus on good teaching. Teachers need the right training and support, and to students that need access to good learning materials. And finally, a need to push for laws that support education. These laws can make sure that everyone has a fair chance to learn and succeed. And by doing all of this, education can be made fair and equal for everyone.
In addressing the power dimensions in education sectors, we must make education accessible, which will support marginalized sectors. One of the most pressing needs in the education sectors is the increase of funding for public education. This is essential to provide scholarship and financial aids to the students who may otherwise are unable to attend school. To address the gaps in the current systems, students can take the lead in forming organizations that promote educational support for their peers. This could include free tutoring, educational workshops, and study groups that provide accessible and free learning resources. By doing so, they can help promote the importance of education beyond the school setting. The various marginalized sectors in education, with the active involvement of student-led organizations, should make their voices heard by protesting against the administration and resisting the increase of tuition fees. This active engagement calls upon the government to solve the limitation of educational opportunities, making the audience feel part of the solution. While students and teachers could use social networking sites to share their personal experiences and beliefs which affect the quality of education they provide and receive. This sharing creates a sense of understanding and connections, encouraging others to do the same and attain transformative power.
In conclusion, the education sector plays a vital role in shaping the nature's future, yet it continues to face major challenges due to inadequate fundings, lack of resources, and systemic inequalities. These issues not only hinder the quality of education but also limit opportunities for countless students, especially those from marginalized sectors. Addressing these power dynamics require collective action through policy reforms, increased funding, student and teacher advocacy, and community-driven initiatives. Education should not be a privilege but a right accessible to all. It's time to demand change, invest in our future, and work together to ensure that every Filipino has the opportunity to learn, grow, and to succeed.